I have to apologize to, I think, Dylan B in the stream chat. I remember him giving me a bit of a schooling. And I forgot who else in the chat was kind of laughing at me because I was making up my own boxing scoring system. But yesterday, when I got back from Berlin, I did download the Tommy Fury and Jake Paul fight. I downloaded it, right? And I rewatched it again. And I legitimately have to say, I think similar to like UFC cards, because usually when it comes to football, and I'm talking about, football, like soccer that we play here in the UK, I generally tend to watch that without the commentary. I always put it on mute, or I have like, whatever, and I'll just watch it like that usually. Unless it's a Champions League game or something. But I usually watch Premier League games for the most part on mute. And it's drastically different how you see the game, watching it on mute, making up your own mind as you're kind of watching it and paying attention, as opposed to how the commentators are talking and maybe the co-commentator who maybe is a fan or whatnot. It just kind of skews it. So I think with me, because I was watching the fight on my stream and I had the headphones playing and I was listening to the commentary a little bit, and I was kind of going off my hype and whatnot, and I might have been a few, I might have had a few bevies down my system, and I may have had a few other things in me as well. I think it kind of, it kind of threw me off in terms of what was happening on screen. So when I was watching it, I legitimately thought Jake Paul was winning that fight and he's the one that exerted more damage. There was a point even, I think, in the stream where I said, I think Jake Paul threw more punches or something. And the stats came out and Tommy Fury had like, I don't know, double the amount of punches that Jake Paul had. I think Tommy's was in like the 300s and Jake Paul was obviously in like the 100s. It was absolutely frightening. So clearly that wasn't the case. And if anything, maybe Tommy doesn't have the knockout power. Oh, big up donation from Robert. Oh, good. Big up Robert Henry Poet.
Annie Lederman burned Chris D'Elia at her recent DC show. Don't remember the joke, was funny though. Something about an 13-year-old girl. Joey D say he's happy Lee didn't end up like Brendan at stand-up.
Big up Robert Henry Poet. Appreciate the $10 super chat. Yeah, that's amazing to hear about that with Annie Lederman. I think I had a couple of people leaving some nice comments about Annie Lederman on the post that I made about Joe Rogan banning her. So I think from what I've been able to ascertain, how we spoke about it, we came to the conclusion that maybe Brendan is the one that lied to BGL when he said, because I think BGL's the one that relayed that back on the podcast, right? He said on the podcast, he's heard firsthand that Joe Rogan's not going to have Annie Lederman back on the show. But maybe BGL heard it from Brendan, and Brendan maybe lied to BGL to kind of save face of the drug thing. Or maybe, Joe just said it in a way of like, he just wanted to be away from those guys. So maybe he didn't really ban Annie. He just wanted to kind of, have her stay over there a bit, let the drama die down, so when he invites her on the show, they're not just talking about the drama again because he doesn't want to get involved in it. But everyone says she's really nice, and everyone that went to the show said, she was giving out hugs and stuff. She's just like a real nice person to kind of speak to and to kind of interact with as a comedian. So that's pretty decent to see. And to be honest as well, she hasn't. The thing I like about Annie Lederman, personally for me, the thing I like about her, she didn't lean into the beef. She kind of just, she let it kind of blow over. She wasn't really milking it. Like she could have milked it if she wanted to, but she kind of did let it lie a bit. So she kind of did give the guy a bit of grace. So I do big up her in that regard. So big up her, big up all that regard. Anyway, moving on back to the thing I said about, I rewatched the fight. Tommy Fury basically won. And if anything, this is proof that everybody that, I think very early on Jake's career in boxing, a lot of people were saying, again, this is kind of common sense, but a lot of people were saying that he's not going to be as good as a professional boxer ever, right? Because I think boxing is just one of those things that unless you start early, it's hard to kind of figure out how to become good at boxing later on in life. I think we've seen it already with Deontay Wilder, right? He's got a natural knockout power he's born with, but he started to box in the traditional way very, very late, kind of quote unquote in life, maybe in his teenage years. So to then to build up that kind of boxing IQ base is pretty difficult, but it can be done. But maybe it's even more difficult when you're in like your 20s or whatnot, if you're flipping Jake Paul. And a lot of people are saying he's not going to be able to fight professional people who get sparked out. But then we kept seeing all these fights he kept having with people. The Nate Robinson thing obviously being the biggest example. The Tyron Woodley thing being the big example in terms of what it looked like. That it gave us the wrong estimation of how good he was. Because he kept fighting these guys that we thought looked athletic, we thought looked strong and powerful, but they can't box. And a lot of people that said early on, commentators and pundits of boxing guys, purists, because they're quite, they take the boxing very seriously, these guys. They all said from the beginning, without fail, if he fights anybody who's decent, who's a professional boxer, he's same weight class, same age, he's going to get destroyed. And I think what they said about Tommy Tommy Fury isn't even professional. He's like an amateur, right? Or something like that. So he's on his way to becoming proper professional. He's not even like a real good professional level. And he said that he would easily wipe the floor with him. And clearly that's what he did. And that's what basically happened. So I tried to apologize to everybody that I was basically arguing with on stream and talking about like how I thought Jake Paul won, because when I rewatched the fight, I was like, whoa, I was bugging out. Jake Paul got absolutely mollywopped. Like, it wasn't even close, really, to be fair. And if anything, if Tommy Fury did have a bit more knockout power on his punches, he could have maybe put Jake Paul out if he wanted to, but he still kind of pieced him up for the most part, lit his face up, and then, you know, the damage on Jake Paul's face after the fight really told the story. And somebody else said it also in the stream. Who said it? I think someone said before I heard that the fact that Tommy got knocked down, which was, you know, debate if you think it's a slip or a knockdown, but the fact that Tommy Fury got knocked down and still won on points shows you how far ahead he was on the points, because he got docked a point as well, and he got knocked down, but he still won on points. So clearly he was already the favourites in the judges' eyes. So everybody that told me that Tommy won fair and square and it was clear and Jake didn't have a chance and I was arguing with, I apologize. My knowledge on boxing is as good as Brendan's knowledge on UFC. That was a terrible call. Jake Paul clearly lost, and I'm eager to see what the next chapter is going forward now, because a part of me thinks he also believed the gas, Jake. I think Jake believed the gas. I think he actually believed he could be pro level as well. I don't think that was the case. He was never going to be pro level. It was always going to be just this kind of fun exhibition fights to kind of get money and whatnot, and to kind of, you know, lean on the troll that everyone hates him and wants to see him knocked out. I think that was always the kind of the case, I'd reckon, because he made like 30 mil, didn't he? 20-30 mil. That's not bad, isn't it, for losing a fight? So if he could just keep doing this and kind of doubling up on the cash, he should be pretty much fine. But hey, it is what it is. It happened. Big up Tommy Fury. Obviously did a good job there. Big up.